Hey all, Chris Bassett here, and I'm playing a little Once Human. I'll be showing you how I built my 3x3 compact tiny base. Let's get into it. So let's start off with a house tour and a description of exactly why I built what I built, and there's some reasoning behind it. I'm basically trying to min-max. Minimum footprint for maximum efficiency. One of the features I was looking to get into was mobility. So this base can be easily set down just about anywhere because it has a 3x3 footprint. So scrolling along the bottom level, it has adequate defenses. I got the level 2 turrets, which can be upgraded to level 3. It currently has 6, but theoretically could have 9 total defense turrets. And placing them on the bottom level prevents any kind of weird aiming inaccuracies, like if you were to have them on the second level. Seems like they don't target if they aim downwards. And in the center is the Starcrom filter. I have the stone fences on the perimeter for defense, as well as stone walls. All that extra hit points prevents mobs from getting in here. And then I like to section off the electrical components, so this is its own area. It has a switch, and then everything's wired together to provide an easy way to turn the power on and off to the defense system for the home. I like to keep my wires clean and organized, even though you could technically use a feature to hide the wires and hoses. I think L3 and R3 on controller would disable the visuals. But coming upstairs a floor, you can see the power system is in the center of the house under the stairs. So we'll go ahead and hop in on foot and we'll check out that. So the second floor is the main area where the majority of crafting is done. I also have all my deviants in this area. I have the deviants positioned strategically. So there is a furnace here in the center, and that will provide any of the deviants that need the high temperature buff. So you put all those deviants around this furnace, and on the other side, I have my refrigerator. And so you put the other deviants that need the cold energy over on that other side. If positioned right, you can put your disassembly bench underneath the first half of the stairs, as well as your solar panels. You can fit up to 6 solar panels under the stairs. And then I like adequate storage here. If you stagger the chests, you can easily activate either the top or the lower chest by looking up or down. Both the supply workbench and the gear workbench are in this area, as well as a huge storage area. You can stack your furnaces if positioned correctly, so you have access to both of your furnaces in a compact area, as well as your synthesis bench. Don't forget deviants like music, so you can put your radio on top, as well as you have your 3 colored lights for red, blue, and green light. If you want to check your power, just run up the stairs and look down, and it'll show you your total wattage that's being used. Moving upstairs is my garden. I currently have 26 planter boxes in a 9 planter box area. I have an automatic irrigation system set up, as well as a water filtering system for purified water. I do have adequate storage for the water, multiple water tanks, and you can see the hoses all run in the right direction. There is a water pump on the back to pump the water up from the ground to this elevated platform. So you can just put a water pump on the ground, connect the wires in the hose, and it'll start pumping. Then you can leave it set over a couple days, and you come back and you have all this water stored in the tanks. I have it set up this way because when you move the home, it breaks the water pump, so you have to redo the water pump every time. But there's a connection on the outside of the house for both the hose and the wire, so it's easy speed connection to set it back up so you can start gathering resources again. So the dirty water is moving through the purifier, then it's moving to a purified water tank into the automatic irrigation system. And I'll show how to build all this a little later in the video. One thing to note is if you check on your plants, you can see that they have 70% vitality, so they don't necessarily need the lights. The water is more important than the light, so as long as you keep them hydrated, you'll find out that you actually are producing more than you need. In the adjacent corner is my acid and brewing system. When in a polluted area, you can pump up polluted water, which will then become impure acid. You can then take that impure acid, put it in the fermentation barrel, and get acid, which is used to upgrade your weapons and build other things. I also have wheat and corn in my garden, and then I take that wheat and corn, put it in the fermentation barrel, and I get malt ale, which is a drink that is used to recover hydration and sanity. The beer is a great drink as it's a top tier for mid to end game. I also supplement the food with canned meat, which can be any animal meat, which I have a deviant help me collect that, as well as a little bit of aluminum, which you can go out and gather yourself. And then heading up to the top floor, I'm still looking for some extra stuff to put up here, but I have my oil refinery for making fuel, as well as more storage, and then the garage is up here as well. So I've been recently pumping up some oil. Just throw some water pumps down on the section of land that looks like this muddy, oily area, and then you'll get the oil that you can then put into the refinery and turn to fuel. So I'm going to start the build portion of the video, and I'm going to speed it up a little bit so it doesn't take forever. But I like to start off with, the stone foundation. So, as I said before, it's a 3x3 foundation. So go ahead and throw down 3x3 squares. It is helpful if you find a nice level, flat area of ground to start off with. Just make sure they're all square and true before you continue. Next, we can build the center column for the stardust filter. You can use stone walls. I did put a door on one of these walls. That way you have easy entrance. To get to the filter, you need to be able to turn it on to activate it. I would definitely put some columns around the corners of the base for added stability in case one of the walls does get tore down. You don't want your base to collapse. But you want to leave the bottom area open. That way the auto turrets can target enemies without any obstructions. You can also put a fence around the perimeter for a little added defense. I believe the fence has like 1,800 hit points, so it's just one more barrier before mobs can start attacking the filter. Once that's in place, go ahead and grab yourself a stone ceiling, and then you can start constructing the second floor. Once again, we're just copying the bottom layer. It'll be 9 total ceiling tiles to cover the base. And then you'll want to choose whichever area you'd like the entrance to the base to be, and break that ceiling tile away, and then put in stairs. Now, the reason I angled the stairs in this direction was because if they angled directly at the house, mobs would run straight up the stairs and start attacking the door. But in this orientation, you can put a fence to block the stairs and prevent mobs from just coming right into the house. So then you want to go ahead and take more stone walls and just run around the edge of the house. Windows do add some extra appeal because you can see out the windows, but keep in mind that mobs with ranged attacks can throw their range attacks inside the house if there's a window there. Also, when building the walls, it could make a difference whether the walls are facing inwards or outwards when it comes to placement of objects. So I've noticed, like, if the walls are facing outwards, you can clip items into the walls a little further than you could if they were facing inwards. Same with windows, particularly with chests. If you have chests next to a window, you can clip that chest into the window, just giving you just a little bit more extra room. At the top of the stairs, go ahead and put your door frame in first, and then the doors by themselves. It's got to be built separately. I'm on a PvE server, so I leave my house open. That way, if a player that passes by wants to walk in and check it out, leave a comment, they can. But you could also leave the doors closed to prevent access. Next, we'll work on the stair column. So just swing around, and in that back square, place steps facing the correct direction. Make 2 layers, and then you can enclose the staircase with its own walls. I'm going to go ahead and finish out the walls on this second layer, and then we can put in some flooring as well. Another reason I really like the compact base is its requirement for materials is very low. I keep seeing tutorials for huge bases on YouTube. I didn't want to farm for weeks just to earn the materials. So literally you can go find the gravel and the stone to make the brick for this in an hour maybe. You could even make this base out of wood, even though the durability be pretty low. But then you could upgrade later once you had the materials on hand. So once the third floor is done, we can now construct the ceiling, which is just, filling in the remaining places. And there you go. The base is basically done foundationally. The next thing to do would be to put all the guts and inner workings inside. Oops, we'll finish off this last wall, and then we'll start off with the electrical system, as that's kind of the heart of the base. It powers everything. So underneath the stairs, go ahead and pick your solar generators. The smallest one works the best. You can fit up to 6 in here if you position them correctly. Also, some other things to look out for to maximize your power output would be the electric eel deviant, 6 of them, one for each generator, as well as the pneumatic that gives you a bonus to solar energy. And then once I have all my solar generators in place, I like to connect them together with a wire. So you just go one by one and just connect them in series. And then you have one giant battery. Let's go ahead and put the disassembly bench in place, rotate it around till it fits, and then just position it accordingly. Also, if the video is going a little fast, feel free to pause it if you're building along. Next, we can put in the securement units, which are used to hold the deviants. I think you only have access to 5 at the beginning, but towards the end of the skill tree, you'll unlock 20, potentially 20 deviants you can hold. So just work your way around this outer edge until you hit the window, and then you want to put a furnace in place. And as I was saying before, the furnace is used to heat the area. So if you have a deviant that likes heat, put them next to the furnace, and that'll help keep their mood up and their productivity up. You can also place the various lights that they like on the ceiling. I think a lot of them, like Digby, likes the red light, so have the red light on the ceiling for them. As well as if they like electricity, you can tie the electricity wires all together and then help them stay productive that way. You can also take a radio and throw that on top of the cage, as well as the toys. Toys are found out in the world in those treasure chests, and then they're just like a little model figurine. It looks like this. And then you can just throw that on top of the cage and it'll keep them happy. I like to stuff the synthesis bench in the corner there for making explosives, and then you can stack your furnaces on top of one another. This also works with the regular charcoal furnaces, but these are electric. You just got to put them in the correct orientation, and then they should work. If you are having trouble putting items in certain spots, try removing other items and then placing them in. Try changing the orientation of the walls. Sometimes it can be finicky, other times they snap into place, so I don't really understand why it does work and doesn't work, but just keep messing around with it and it should eventually pop into place. I've noticed like you can clip certain items into other items, so you may need to rearrange the where the position of those items are. It also makes a difference if you're placing the items directly with the character or if you're flying around in flight mode like I am now. So here, let's put some storage chests in place. You can use the line on the floor out of the natural cobblestone to line up the chests, but then just stagger them. Pull the bottom layer out, 1 or 2 notches, and then you can set the next chest directly on top and push it back a little further. This will enable you to, if you look up slightly to target the top chest, and if you look down towards the floor, you'll target the bottom chest. Also, you can clip the chests out the window, which is handy if you want just a little more storage space. I like to put the refrigerator on this side. That way it keeps those deviants that want the cold, cool, and it keeps it away from the furnace. So the furnace will cancel out the refrigerator. So if you are having issues, that could be one reason why. All right, let's move upstairs and we'll start construction on the garden. I like to push this back in the corner, but you're going to want to find the small wooden half wall. Use that on each of the corners, and that will support the second layer. Next, grab yourself the planter box and go ahead and put 9 of these down. So you can be a little more cautious with how you place them, but your irrigation system should, hit everything underneath it. So just stagger the boxes out until you have 9. And at this point, if you wanted, you could add the plants and fertilizer, but I'm going to let my grow shroom do that. One important thing to note is you do need a column in this corner. Build the columns up so that the column is in that corner. The stone ceiling will need that column for support. So add your stone ceiling in the corner there, and then you want the small stone ceiling around the edge to finish the structure. All right, let's take a second and work on the irrigation system. I'm going to put a large storage tank here in the back, followed by a water filter, and then an automated irrigation facility. You can connect all the hoses together and the wires to make everything function. You'll use a pump to pull up dirty water, which will then get stored in the tank, and get filtered to clean water, and then sprayed on your plants. So I like to set the irrigation level to 70. That's what wheat likes, and then light's not a necessity. What is a necessity is a grow shroom, because you won't be able to get in here to manage or plant any of these plants. So you'll definitely need one grow shroom, but two would be better. So once you have your grow shroom in your tank, you can then add the seeds at the top and then pick up the finished product when he's done. And that's all done automatically. So we'll go ahead and finish putting the planter boxes here in place, and then we'll put the third layer on. So we've got the one thing to manage here is, now that the irrigation system's in the way, use your small stone ceiling tiles and just snap them into place and work around your irrigation. After the flooring's done, you can then put another 8 planter boxes on top of this structure. Now, as I was saying before, I mainly use this garden for wheat. That way I can turn it into beer. I haven't really experimented too much with the other, maybe some vegetables and flowers. But as far as getting like deviants, like I know you can get more grow shrooms if you plant mushrooms. I haven't tried any of that. So just gonna go over the water system. We're hooking up the hoses so we can get water to our plants. So you can see we've got the correct water flow as it's going from the tank to the filter irrigation. And then you can connect your wires for power, because your filter and irrigation both need power. I put extra storage tanks on the roof just to hold more water. You can then connect all those tanks with one hose and make one giant storage unit. Just make sure that the water flow is in the correct direction, otherwise the materials won't move through the system. So the water moves by gravity, so you have to start at the top and then go lower and lower throughout the system, unless you have one of these small water pumps, which is how I get the water to the roof from the ground. So I connect power to all the items that need power, and then you have your water pump on the ground, and then with that smaller water pump, it'll pull water up if everything's connected correctly and the pump is on. Alrighty, let's go over the electrical system. So here we are downstairs by the solar panels. Once all panels are connected, connect them to this center point here. You can find these terminals under the power facility in the build menu. They just serve as connection points for the wires around your building. So from the center point, I have another connection to the left. There's another terminal on the ground. From that terminal, it runs up to another terminal on the ground and then into a switch. That switch then runs all of the water irrigation system. You can see there's a terminal on the wall back there. That terminal comes outside, and it's on the outside of the building, so you can hook your pump up to it. So that's a connection point. You can then wire that terminal to that small pump, and then you can put pumps on the ground and then run those pumps up to that terminal for power. And once you have power and your hoses connected, you'll see the water flowing upwards into this containment unit, and then down into the second containment unit through the filter, and then into your irrigation system. I did place a switch here on the wall to break the circuit if you ever want to turn any of that off. Same concept here, terminal to the right, to a switch, and then all of the deviation chambers. So if I wanted to, I could turn off the deviation chambers. I ran some wire up around the ceiling to a switch that could turn off the kitchen set as well. If you go downstairs, there's a switch on the wall, and then all of the terminals on the ground connect the defense system. I placed all the terminals inside to prevent destruction. If they're on the outside, enemies could potentially break them, disrupting the circuit to your defense turrets. And we'll just come back outside and upstairs to my brewing center. You can use the brewing barrel to make acid, or in my case, I make a lot of wheat and corn ale. Just add the purified water and then the base material, and that should brew some pretty good drinks for you. All the way on the top of the roof is the purification for the crude oil. When you pump oil out of the ground, you can then turn that into fuel. Another idea I was playing with was, once you're far enough in the story and you pick up the door deviant, gives you materials to craft the teleportation door. You could then remove the staircase and just put the door entrance right there, and it would replace there, and you could instantly teleport between those two locations. As I was saying before, the grow shroom is a pretty critical deviant you need for your garden, and then I also have access to the lethal rabbit, which he'll get you meat. You can then use that meat to cook the other component to your hunger. Just use it to make canned meat with aluminum and whatever he collects. So that's a pretty good passive source of food. Hey, that's it for the base tutorial. If that was helpful, hit the like button. I really appreciate it. I've got Amazon links down in the description if you want to save money on electronics. Check out those links. Any other questions or comments, put below. Thanks.